Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. We're going to take some pretty critical global health data and break it down for you so you can really get the big picture. I am super thrilled to have you here today because we are tackling a massive issue. We're diving deep into the data surrounding National Dengue Day 2026, which is coming up on May 16th. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so we're going to keep the pace pretty energetic today to unpack exactly what's driving this crisis, and more importantly, the fascinating science and everyday actions we are using to fight back. All right, let's just jump right in. Here's our roadmap for today. First, a growing global crisis. 2, the tiny culprit. 3, why dengue is surging. 4, science strikes back. And 5, the front line is home.
Okay, part 1. A growing global crisis, the unprecedented surge.
14.4 million. Let that number just sit with you for a second. In 2024, the World Health Organization reported over 14.4 million dengue cases globally. Out of those, 7.7 million were actually laboratory confirmed, and over 52,000 were severe cases that tragically resulted in more than 11,200 deaths. The numbers they're so incredibly high that the WHO actually had to officially describe the 2024 transmission levels as unprecedented. What we're looking at is one of the fastest growing mosquito-borne viral diseases in the entire world. And this trend, it's just continued right into recent outbreaks across Asia, Latin America, and the Pacific. But honestly, what's even more alarming is the broader risk pool. 4 billion. That represents nearly half of the entire human population that is currently at risk of a dengue infection. I mean, think about that scale. This isn't just some isolated regional issue. This is a full-blown planetary health challenge. Now, let's zoom in on India for a sec. India experiences heavy seasonal outbreaks, especially during and right after the monsoons, and the data there is highly concerning. Just by August 2025 alone, India had already reported nearly 50,000 cases. And experts are pretty quick to point out that the actual numbers, they could be way higher because of underreporting. Forecasting studies are actually estimating that India might witness over 300,000 or 3 lakh dengue cases in 2026 if preventive measures aren't drastically stepped up. We're talking about severe, recurrent outbreaks that are targeting highly vulnerable states. Places like Delhi, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, and Odisha. Moving on to part 2, the tiny culprit inside the threat. So, meet the villain of our story. Dengue is caused by the dengue virus, or DNV, and it spreads exclusively through infected Aedes aegypti mosquitoes. But here is the highly counterintuitive part. This mosquito doesn't need a gross, murky, muddy swamp to multiply. No, it thrives in perfectly clean, stagnant water. This bizarre biological quirk is exactly why it's so incredibly successful at living right alongside us in our homes. Once that mosquito bites, the physical toll on your body is brutal, and it happens fast. The common symptoms are essentially a full system shock. You get hit with a super high fever, a severe headache, and this really debilitating joint and muscle pain. Plus, a lot of patients report this intense, very specific pain right behind the eyes, along with nausea, vomiting, a skin rash, and just extreme weakness. It will literally sideline whoever it infects. And here is where things get absolutely critical. What happens when those initial symptoms aren't managed properly? Untreated or severe cases can escalate incredibly rapidly into dengue hemorrhagic fever, or DHF, or even worse, the highly fatal dengue shock syndrome, DSS. These conditions basically lead to severe organ damage and, tragically, death, which is exactly why early diagnosis and timely treatment are the absolute core pillars of public health messaging for this disease. All right, part 3, why dengue is surging, the multipliers. If we know about this disease and it's preventable, we really have to ask, why are transmission levels suddenly unprecedented? Well, first up on our list of multipliers is climate change. It is a direct catalyst. Rising global temperatures and highly irregular rainfall patterns are essentially rolling out the red carpet for mosquito breeding. The warmer weather expands where they can comfortably live, and unpredictable rains create way more stagnant pools of water. This fundamentally extends the transmission seasons well beyond what we've historically seen. Building directly on that climate issue, we have to add the human element, rapid urbanization. As our cities just keep growing, overcrowding and poor drainage systems become these massive liabilities. Urban water stagnation creates an absolute paradise for these mosquitoes to breed. Without even realizing it, we are inadvertently building the exact infrastructures they need to multiply right in our most densely populated areas. In this next point, it perfectly illustrates the evolutionary arms race we're losing right now. insecticide resistance. Our traditional chemical weapons are just failing. Mosquitoes all over the globe are building resistance to commonly used insecticides. They're adapting, they're surviving the chemical fogging, and then they're passing that genetic resistance right down to the next generation. It's a massive, growing challenge. Throw in some everyday negligence and basic household sanitation, and they reproduce way faster than we can even manage. So when you combine climate change, urbanization, and insecticide resistance, the resulting wave just crashes directly onto our healthcare systems. It places this crushing, immense pressure across the board during the season. Hospitals run out of beds, emergency networks get stretched way too thin, and vital supply lines, like testing labs and blood banks, are absolutely overwhelmed by the sheer demand.
But it isn't all bad news. Section 4, Science Strikes Back, the Counterattack.
Despite the rising cases, public health defense is being completely transformed right now by modern advancements. We are actively deploying digital mapping and predictive analytics to create incredibly accurate outbreak forecasting. We're rapidly expanding our diagnostic testing capabilities, we're actively developing dengue vaccines and diving deep into antiviral research, while also launching these brilliant, smart surveillance systems. We're literally using data and tech to predict where the mosquitoes are going to strike before they even hatch. And get this, we are actually turning nature against itself. Several countries are successfully testing innovative vector control methods using Wolbachia-infected mosquitoes. Basically, by introducing a specific bacteria into the wild mosquito population, we actually stop them from being able to transmit the virus. Add to that some cutting-edge genetic mosquito control technologies, and we have an absolute scientific breakthrough on our hands. We're neutralizing the threat from the inside out. Which brings us to our final section, Part 5. The front line is home, the ground game. Because look, science and hospitals alone cannot win this fight. Your personal action plan, that is the real first line of defense. Because the Aedes aegypti mosquito loves clean, stagnant water, the most effective preventative measures are literally in your hands. Step 1, you absolutely must clear out stagnant water from coolers, buckets, old tires, and flower pots around your home. Steps 2 and 3, protect yourself physically. Use mosquito repellents, sleep under nets, and wear full-sleeved clothing. And step 4, step outside of your house and support your community. Get involved with public awareness campaigns, report early symptoms, and back your local fogging and sanitation initiatives. Coordinated public health action requires every single one of us. So as we've seen, reducing dengue-related illness and death requires a lot of things: better urban sanitation, scientific innovation, and sustained public awareness. But it ultimately starts with active participation from you. National Dengue Day is a massive global mission, trying to protect billions of people. But as we sign off today, I really want to leave you with this one immediate question to ask yourself. What is breeding in your backyard? Take a look today, clear out that water, and be the front line. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.